We're back, and now I'm going to introduce. Today we have Max Igan, host of Surviving the Matrix. Welcome, Max. Hi, how are you?
I'm very well. It's nice to be asked onto the show.
Yeah, really glad to have you. So
absolutely. And Max, we have Sara here with us. The show is Truth or Talk, and sometimes we bring our friend Sara Sotomayor as a kind of a correspondent. She's been a guest on our show several times. So it's all three of us here today. It's April, Virstyne, and Sara. So we're all such fans. We're really excited to have you. So we're pleased and honored to have you on our show.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Thank you very much for listening to the shows, and thank you for the kind words. It's an honor that you would have me on.
Oh, well, great. And you have a show, Surviving the Matrix, as Virstyne mentioned, and also your website is The Crow House, correct? And that's where people can find out when your shows are airing, and it has links to your archive shows and all that. And so how did you start that? What got you to wake up? What was the event that woke you up to and made you want to start questioning, I guess, the Matrix?
Well, look, I've never really been asleep. I was questioning things from when I was 4 years old. I walked around the yard looking at things, thinking this is all messed up. Things shouldn't be this way. And I was questioning my parents about why we had to buy land, who owned it, why did we have to buy it from them when I was 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And I started researching the pyramids when I was about 8, because I couldn't read properly until then, but I've been shown pictures of them. I used to pore over the encyclopedias when I was 5 years old. I couldn't read the words, but I could look at all the pictures, all these ancient monuments and all this stuff, and I was absolutely fascinated by it. And as soon as I could read, I started researching it, and I'd never really been asleep. I got kicked out of 4 schools for arguing with my teachers about stuff they were trying to teach us as fact. Ended up with my own desk outside the principal's office for my last 6 months of school. So I left school, didn't even finish high school, just thought this is all wrong, and started playing music and lived on the outside of society playing music, doing something that I love. Worked as a lead guitarist for many years and researched on the side. And got a kind of a unique perspective because I never really participated in society as a musician. We kind of live on the outside of society, you know. So I still got to do my research, and it was always sort of fascinating. And I was saying that there was this whole global thing going on. There was this big global conspiracy, and there was this hidden hand. And I used to tell people, next we're going to see this happen, and then down the track we'll see this happen. I've come across friends now that have said to me, wow, Max, everything you told me 35 years ago of what the world would be like, now that's exactly what it's like. How did you know, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I just used to do this on the side. But then when 9/11 happened, like many people, I thought, okay, here it is. Here's the big event we've been waiting for. And so my music became more of my hobby, and my hobby became what I do full time because it became apparent that it's very necessary to start waking people up to this. It's not just a hobby. It's not just a game. It's very, very real. And it was kind of interesting while it was all unfolding. But when you see 3,000 people die in an obviously staged event that's going to be used to bring about this global police state, which is exactly what it's doing now, right, then it becomes apparent that, well, hang on, maybe I've been a little bit slack by ignoring it as much as I have and treating it like a hobby when it's really a very serious issue, you know.
Yeah.
And listen, we're in the middle of a really, really cyclonic weather activity here at the moment as well. We've got storms raging and the power's flicking a little bit. So if I suddenly drop offline, okay, if the power goes off or something like that, I mean, you could probably edit this bit out of the show if you want, but if the power goes off, the power goes off. So, yeah.
Okay.
I'll just warn you about that.
That's good. Thanks for the warning.
Yeah, there's a fall cyclone going on here at the moment. It's been raining for 5 days, and we've got trees down all over the place and really, really strong winds. So, I'll just warn you about that.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. I hope you stay safe in this. What part of Australia are you from, or are you in right now?
I'm in Byron Bay. Byron Bay is the most easterly point. It's northern New South Wales. If you look up on Google Images Byron Bay, it's paradise. It's an absolutely beautiful place, but it's just a very, very bad weather front coming through here.
Okay.
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah, that's too bad. So when you started the radio show Surviving the Matrix, when did you start that? And you kind of described a little bit. It was the events of 9/11 that really prompted you to want to make this your full-time job and not your hobby. And so, tell us a little bit about when you started it and what that was like, and what.
Well, it was really interesting actually. Like, I started hitting chat rooms and forums and doing everything I could to try to get the word out to people, to wake them up to the fact that they were being scammed and the news wasn't telling them the truth, and that there's certain things going on in government they need to know about. I didn't really know how to use it. I thought there's some way you can harness the power of the internet, but I don't know what it is. I mean, I used to hit news chat rooms and Yahoo News and all this sort of stuff, just have these page-long debates and pages-long debates with people trying to point out the facts to them. And I'd know that there'd only be a couple of people arguing with me, and I'd maintain my cool and I'd keep it there, and I know that there'd be other people reading the threads, even though they weren't posting. And then at the end of the conversation, once everyone had given up and kind of left me to it, I'd get hundreds of posts of people that had been reading and going, wow, they never put a glove on you in everything you were doing. So I thought, well, that's good, at least I'm reaching people. Yeah. And then I had this meditation event. In 2008, I'd started thinking I could do slideshows. Someone had sent me a slideshow. I discovered YouTube, and someone sent me a slideshow they'd made on the Bali bombing. I thought, wow, I can do this. I can put together a slideshow and put what I know out there, you know. And so I made a film called The Big Picture and put that out there. And it's pretty primitive. I mean, it was. I tried to make it like a movie, but it was the first thing I'd ever done. And I did it sort of by myself, just using slides and footage from around the place, and compiled it into what I hoped would be interesting enough for people to watch. And then I had this meditation event, and I realized that I could change reality by changing my emotional state. I had this incredible download. It was a really, really profound experience. And so I changed my emotional state. I got up in the mornings and I started thinking, you know, if I was a radio host, I could get this message out to the whole world. I could get it out to a lot of people. I'd have people that I could just talk on air and they'd just listen to me and it'd all work. I'm thinking, I wonder how you do that. I wonder how you become a radio host. I don't even know about Blog Talk Radio or anything like that. I discovered YouTube. I didn't even know that there were online radio stations really at that point. And I was just too busy with my research to be going and doing that sort of thing. And so... But I put myself in the emotional state where I was a radio host. And I'd get up every morning and I'd be working on my second film, excuse me, and putting myself in that emotional state where I was a radio host. And then before I know it, I'd get contacted from a radio host in Kansas who's watched my film, The Big Picture, and says, look, I've been trying to wake up my neighbour for 5 years and he wouldn't wake up. And then I showed him your film and it woke him up. So I want to have you on the radio show. I thought, oh, this is interesting. So I went onto the radio show, and I thought, this was really strange. Never appeared on a radio show before, you know. And started talking, and the next day after the show, he contacted me and said, we got all these phone calls. Everybody really loved you. We want you to come on again next month. So I said, okay. So I came on as a guest again next month, and he said, look, they love you. We want to have you on as my regular Wednesday guest. So I went, okay, and we did that for a month, and then after a month of that, the station said, look, the audience really likes listening to you. We want to offer you your own show. So I went, okay. And that kind of manifested within 2 or 3 weeks of me putting myself in the energetic state where I was a radio host. I'd get up in the morning and I'd put myself in that state. Even when I was just sitting at the computer working on my film, I didn't imagine I was a radio host. It wasn't a feeling of the law of attraction. I didn't focus on it. I put myself in the energetic state where I was a radio host. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how a real prayer works. That's how you communicate with the field. It's like an American Indian prayer. When an American Indian, Native American prays for rain, they put themselves in the emotional state where they're literally standing in the rain. They can feel it on their skin and they can taste it. They can feel the squishiness in their toes and they can smell it running down the walls of the building, you know, and then it rains. So they put themselves in that state where they are standing in the pouring rain, and that attracts the rain into their life. So if you want something in your life, if you're looking for your perfect job or your perfect partner or something that you really want to be doing in your life, if you put yourself in the emotional state where you are already in that position, then you will attract that into your reality. And that's how I did it. That's how I got the gig as on the radio. I mean, I'm sure that's how I got it. Because all I'd done was release that film, which when I look back on it, was pretty low budget. I mean, you know. And but yeah, it just got me the job on the radio, and then I started speaking out, and everybody seemed to like the message, and that's what I hoped would happen. And I tried to keep it anonymous because I didn't want to develop a cult of personality around it.
Right.
They'll judge your message by what you look like, or how they see you, how they perceive you to be, judged on your looks, based on your looks. And so I thought, it's not about me, it's about the message. And you don't even need to know what I look like. If you need to know what I look like, then you're missing the message, because it's not about me, it's about the message. Now, I'm irrelevant. I'm nobody. I'm you, in lak'ech. You know, and that's what I wanted to bring across to people. But then the videos came out of me at the Ham Congress, and now it's all out, and here I am. But hey, that was the idea to start with. I just really wanted to empower humanity. I think it's important that people wake up to the power that we've all got within us, and we are so powerful, and we have so much potential, and we are so far from what we should be. And the secret is within, is discovering this within yourself. That's where it all lies. So that's the message.
Yeah. Do you think you could explain the meaning of in lak'ech and why you use that phrase and why it's important to you?
In lak'ech is a Mayan greeting that says, I am another yourself. But it also means I am yourself. We are each other. You know, we are the same, but we are unique, but we are the same. But it's a way of life. It's a way of interacting with reality. If you can perceive yourself to be part of all creation, we are all in this together. And creation is even created by us, if you look at it. You look at physics and you look at the way we create matter by observing it. Now, reality is what it is because this is what we believe it to be. It's kind of a paradox, but that's how it works. But once we realize that we are all each other, we are all divine, we are all unique, we are all one, but we are all unique. You know? And so it encompasses all of that, and it's a way of life, it's a way of interacting with reality, even more than being a greeting. It's a code of conduct, and that's why I use it. And I think that if people can perceive themselves and others and even reality in that way, we could change reality in 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's amazing. Also, I heard about your ayahuasca experiences in Peru, and I only heard you talk a little bit about your first experience with it, where it helped your clear cellular memory and DNA, and I was wondering if you could talk about that.
Okay, well, that experience was here in Australia before I actually went to Peru. I met a Venezuelan shaman woman here, and I did a ceremony prior to leaving for Peru. And I had a few visual experiences, and I got a suggestion of the Earth Mother, of the lady, the divine feminine energy that we all experience during an ayahuasca experience, or that most people experience. I got a suggestion of her, but standing right off there in the distance. And the first thing I felt when the ayahuasca started to take effect in my body was it felt like a hand had put itself inside my body, and its fingers were spreading out through my body, and it was feeling me from the inside out. It was feeling my organs and feeling, going, okay, I can heal that. Yeah, we can fix that. Okay, we can do this. You know, and then it started going through, and I started having these waves of sickness where I wanted to purge. And I'd purge, and the purging is quite horrific. I mean, it can be quite uncomfortable. But after I'd finished purging, I'm still purging, and what was coming out felt like codes, genetic codes, and cellular memory, almost like entities.
Wow.
You know, because all of these things, all of these addictions and memories, cellular memories, they all have their own consciousness. They're like entities that they're energetic entities that latch onto you and harvest your energy from you. And I was purging these things. It was like a preparation for the ceremonies that I was about to go and do in Peru. And I could feel it. I mean, it was just, I didn't have to think about it. I didn't think maybe this is what it is. I just knew. I could feel in my soul that that's what I was doing. I was getting rid of these genetic codes and getting these entities out of my cellular memory. And these entities felt like they came from way back because, of course, my biological construct and my energetic construct is a result of the merging of the waters of my mother and father. So those waters contained all of their cellular memory as well. And that contained the memory of all of their parents as well. So you gain all of this cellular stuff all the way through, all of these genetic codes and memories, energetic memories. These go way, way back through all of our ancestors. And these are all part of us and what makes us up. And so you can purge negative aspects of these codes and rebalance your body through this medicine. It really is a medicine. It's not a hallucinogenic plant. It's a medicine that also has the ability to connect you to the spirit world. That's what it is. You know.
Would you say that it activated some of your DNA that was left dormant?
Well, I don't know. I didn't really. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. But I know it cleared a lot of it. It cleared a lot of genetic codes from it. It may well have done something like that.
Did you have any recollection of any past lives that you might have had to? Did it open you up to that?
No, I didn't go through any of that. That was not the intention of the journeys I was on. You always set yourself an intention.
Oh, okay.
You go into the experience with a question that you've got. There's something that you want to explore. And the lady will show you the way through. She will guide you through to find out about yourself. You'll find that you can go through. I mean, it's more about yourself in the now than that. I mean, you'll clear genetic codes and cellular memory to get your body in a state of balance and a state of energetic balance. But what it will do is it will strip away the layers of your personality like an onion. And it will show you the parts of yourself that you don't really want to see. The parts of yourself that you won't face. There was one experience that I went through in the first ceremony where I went through the emotional experience of breaking up with my wife when we broke up back in 1995. And it was a very painful experience, but it was painful for both of us. And when I had the ayahuasca experience, what I did was I went through the breakup, but I went through it from her side.
Oh, wow.
I felt all the hurt that I did to her through the breakup, because previously I'd only experienced the hurt that she'd done to me, which was profound. But I saw that I was just as bad. And I felt all the hurt that I did to her, and I healed that from myself by purging that, by experiencing that from her. And I cried tears and tears. I really felt what her pain was through all of that. So, it'll show you things about yourself that you didn't expect to see, and it'll show you if you've done damage to people. It'll show you parts of yourself that you don't want to face. I don't think it would be possible for someone who's had a deep and clear ceremonial ayahuasca experience. I don't think it would be possible for any of these people to steal from anybody again or to hurt anybody again or go to a war or do anything like that.
Seems like we need to round up the powers that be and you have them all. You have an ayahuasca experience.
Yeah.
Well, it's not something that you do for recreation. Certainly not, And if someone just gives you some and says, "Here, have some of this," I would not recommend that you do it. You need someone there to guide you and look after you, because you're very vulnerable in that type of a state, and you can hurt yourself just tripping over and stuff. I mean, you're not very stable, and it is a very, very deep spiritual experience. It's not something that you do for fun or kicks or let's go have an ayahuasca party. Right. It's a very, very cleansing and very deep spiritual experience. It's a physical and emotional medicine is what it is, and it can connect you to that which exists outside visible light. It can switch your higher senses and your higher instincts on. I had that experience on a couple of ceremonies where my instincts came online, and I could literally read the energy field around me, and I could communicate with the jungle itself. Through higher emotional languages. So it showed me all of that. It showed me what we're capable of if we were switched on. We switched back to what we should be. It showed me how far we are from that path as well. I mean, what we've got here in the societies that we've got, we are so far from where we should be, and to get back to what we should be is an enormous job we've got ahead of us. And I believe there are steps we can take in order to do that, but we really have to accept that we are that far from our path. We have to accept that these spirit realms and these energy realms are real, and look at a right brain reality and compared to the left brain reality we live in, and realize we have to bring the two together, and we have to get back to that from what we are. But there's a certain process that has to go through it. I mean, it's a really, really difficult thing for people to understand, but we are so far from what we should be. And we've got an enormous job to get back there. So we have to do it in steps, like I said. First step, I believe, is first letting people know there's a problem. We've got to address the money supply, and we've got to clean up our environment. Those two things. Yeah. Get people out of fear-based mind control and scarcity from this money system, and get all the toxins and stuff out of the environment so our bodies can become biologically active again.
Yeah.
That's the first two major things,
Yeah, your message is so powerful, and I think that's why it resonates with a lot of people. We all know this, whether consciously or unconsciously. We know this is something that has to be done. I was listening to an interview that you did the other day with Sonia from the Truther Girls, and you said that YouTube still only lets you upload 15 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
How many? Don't you have 1,000 videos? Have you uploaded
I've got over 1,000 videos up there. I've got over 12 million views on my videos. I've got 36,000 plus subscribers.
Obviously, you're being suppressed. You know what I mean? How many? You have 1,000 videos. Yeah, and I'm still only able to upload 15-minute sections, so people don't listen to the whole show. They don't want people to listen to the whole show. But our website, the Crow House, gets between 60 and 90,000 hits a day. So people are listening to the message. I know the stuff goes a lot more viral than what they let you know. I see them drop my video count all the time. Sometimes 3,000 views in an hour will drop off a clip. So wow. They suppress it all. I released a show a couple of weeks ago called Sandy Hook, an American coup d'etat. And that got 56,000 views that they showed, but they dropped a lot off it. And within 24 hours of uploading that show, the Crow House had 1,267 viruses embedded into it. Oh, well, you know what though? No, that sucks on one level, but on another level, it's you're reaching a lot of people. That means they're scared. You're.
Oh yeah. When that sort of stuff happens, you know that you're making a difference. So I've had to pay to have the website cleaned, which is costing a fortune. But hey, that's the way it goes. When you release something that they really don't want, then that happens. And of course now there's more videos being brought out, disinformation videos saying I'm this member of this elite family and blah blah blah. It's quite funny, really. But,
is that the guy that said you had a prosthetic face or something like that? That was hilarious. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, they try everything. It's quite funny, really. But all this sort of comes out. You're making a difference when this sort of thing comes out, and it is all about the message. And I think a lot of people resonate with it because really all I'm speaking is common sense. And I try very much not to intellectualize anything. I want to try to keep it really simple and just, lay the cards on the table and say, well, this is what I can see. And it seems pretty, it's like common sense. It seems pretty obvious to me. So what do you guys think?
Right.
And that's the way I kind of try to present it. I think it's an opportunity, all this. I think it's a real opportunity because we've never had the workings of this system laid this bare before. And that gives us the opportunity to fix it. So people just have to see the problem from a clear enough perspective and they'll get it. And that's how we fix it. So, we've all got to do our bit, and that's what I try to do.
Yeah, going back to Sandy Hook, we did see that, and we thought it was brilliant, a breakdown of really what the bigger picture of what's going on. So, I don't really think that we'll ever get to the bottom of what really happened at Sandy Hook, but, I kind of think it's really important to point out that there are a lot of inconsistencies in the story because it just shows us how much the mainstream media lies to us. But what I really like about your video, because I personally feel it's more important to stay focused on how Sandy Hook is affecting us in the big picture, right? How you break down how it's affecting the American people, how you think it's a coup d'etat.
Could you actually break that down, kind of summarize it for our audience and what you said in that video?
Well, with Sandy Hook, I mean, the important to me, it's set up to look like a conspiracy, whether it is or not. I mean, I can't call it. I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't call whether it was actors, whether the kids died or anything. I don't know. I wasn't there. Anyone who says they can call it, well, I'd be suspicious on it because we just don't have enough information, and they've been very careful to ensure that we don't have enough information. But we have had enough information to make it look like a conspiracy, which I would suggest has been done on purpose. I mean, the way they left in the footage of Robbie Parker smiling, the way the footage of Gene Rosen auditioning or practicing his lines or whatever he was doing, why was that video posted on the internet? Why were there Facebook pages that with timestamps changed and dates changed, and there was all these sites set up to make it look like they'd been there before the event, and then they all disappear and all this sort of stuff? It's been set up to look like a conspiracy, so it's important to see how it's being played. Now, really, if you were wanting to stage something like this and you were wanting to take the guns away from the people, you know that your main people that are going to be aware of this is the truth community. They're the guys that are out there trying to wake up the rest of the country to the fact that there's a problem. So you need to create an event where you can demonize these people at the same time. And the easiest way to get the guns from the American people, I mean, you can make this threat about the Second Amendment, but ultimately they're not going to give up their guns. Even if you write out some executive order, the American people are not going to give up their guns because even the Second Amendment, I mean, they say that you'll never have to use it until they go to take it away. And they won't do it. So the easiest way to get the weapons from the American people really is through conflict. So they've created this whole conspiracy thing here around Sandy Hook to attack the Second Amendment, use it to attack the Second Amendment in order to create this conflict and vilify all the truth community at the same time, because now the people from Sandy Hook, they're on the news saying, I'm being attacked by truthers. They're ringing up, making abusive phone calls, and they're threatening me and all this sort of stuff. And the people will be looking at this going, these truthers, these sound like they're really nasty people. And they go, well, hang on a minute, that Adam Lanza who killed those children, wasn't his mum a prepper? Why was she a prepper? Oh, because she was a truther. She was a conspiracy theorist. She thought there was a big crunch coming. So these conspiracy theorists are dangerous. These are a new form of domestic terrorist. And so it creates that conflict that they need, because that's the easiest way to get the guns is through conflict and martial law. And they can also say, look, Adam Lanza, he was on medication. Look at all the people that are on medication. They're all registered by doctors. So let's merge the doctors' records of people on medication with Homeland Security through the means of Obamacare. And now we can say that all these people that are on medications, these are all a risk. So we can go and take all the guns from these people. And look at it. I mean, 80,000 people died last year from firearms, from weapons in America. 80,000 people, that's a lot of people. But 260,000 people died from FDA-approved drugs. So why aren't they banning the FDA? And what are the statistics that say that all the people who killed the 80,000 people with guns were probably doing so because they were on FDA-approved drugs?
Exactly.
So, let's look at the bigger picture here, So you can see how it's all being played, though. And the attack against the Second Amendment is the carrot, I mean, they've made this look like a conspiracy. Here's the last picture of the young girl she drew. It happened to be an owl. Of course it's an owl.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been a pony or a puppy dog. No, it's an owl. Of course it's an owl. Come on, they're pushing.
They knew that's going to drive us over the fucking edge.
They're going,
excuse my language. But because we were just like, oh my God, an owl! Oh my God,
Yeah, they're pushing you. They're taunting you. They're saying, come on, call it. You can make this big, huge conspiracy thing, and now we've got look, these poor people who lost their children, and this kindly old man who helped the children. They're being attacked by these crazy truthers, and it was these crazy truthers who went and killed the children to start with. So you can see how it's being played, and now they're having drills over Miami with the helicopters and all of this stuff going. Have you seen all that? The Black Hawks over Florida doing drills. Firing blanks in the air, getting people doing an exercise. It's just practice, folks. We're just practicing merging the military with the police in downtown Miami for no reason, just practicing. Well, what are you practicing for? I mean, you can see where it's all going. They've got all the FEMA camps in place. They've got issued all the hollow points out. They're ready, and they're just pushing for conflict because. If they try to do it peacefully, it's not going to work. There's going to be challenges, legal challenges, bills will be defeated, blah, blah, blah.
Even if Obama writes executive orders, there'll be people that challenge it. There'll be state by state challenges to this executive order.
They're already drafting. They're already trying to impeach him right now. Yeah.
Well, they should. But
that should have been done a while ago, though. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
Absolutely. They really snuck him in there. You know, we'll put a black man in there. Look how cool we are. Don't even have to think about whether there's equality now. Look, we've got a black president.
Right.
You know?
Were you even? I'm sorry.
It sweeps all of these issues under the carpet. It was their big move to do this, put this guy in there, and he's just Bush with a mask on. You know, I mean, it's the same person. It doesn't matter. You know.
Yeah. And it's sad because there are a lot of people are blind to just because he's black. You know, a lot of people are blind to the stuff that he was doing because I guarantee if Bush had, created an illegal war in Libya and signed the NDA, all this stuff, then there would have been more people on him, you know. But it's just very frustrating, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, people think the way they're trained to think, you know, and that's another reason why Sandy Hook is so needed at this time, and vilifying the truth movement is so needed at this time, because YouTube and the alternate media has become very, very powerful. And most people, if they want news now, they go to YouTube. They don't go to Channel 10 or whatever. They go to YouTube. So they need to try to paint the YouTube truth community as the new form of domestic terrorists. I don't think they'll get away with it. I think this is the big move, though. It's a silent coup, and they're pushing for conflict. So the people have got to be very, very careful how they respond to this. And they've got to be very careful to be responsible when dealing with Sandy Hook and look at the bigger picture. Yeah. It's very hard to call it in either direction, and it isn't that isn't the issue. The issue is how it's being played. Where does it fit into the global picture? And it fits in so well that it's very, very doubtful this hasn't been contrived, because it is such a perfect move, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it is, and it's really just drawing in the police state, because like you say, with the conflict, I mean, you have the conflict no matter where you look, because even within the truth community, there's conflict over how it happened, or what happened, you know, was it the drugs, was it this, that, or the other, and everybody has their different theories on that. And then if you look at the mainstream, you have, you know, the right versus the left, and then, but really, if you pay attention, they're actually both pushing the police state agenda, because the right are actually wanting to put armed security in every school. That's their solution.
Yeah.
So that's just going to put your children in a military school, essentially, just, you know, which they really don't need to be in, and it's just increasing that level of tension and fear, no matter which way you look. And I do see that also happening in the truth movement. I think that there's been a lot of conflict about Sandy Hook as far as people thinking that it's staged, or people fighting over it within. So it seems to also be working
as a distraction, right?
Well, as a distraction, but I mean, as an area of conflict within our own community.
Yeah, true. Divide and conquer, though, right? We were distracted. We're fighting each other. We don't have time to look at the bigger picture.
Right.
Of course, that's how they do it. That's why people argue whether there were planes or no planes on 9/11. They want you to argue about that. That's why they make it. They put stuff there to make you argue about it.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant whether it was staged or not, Sandy Hook. It's irrelevant whether it was staged or not. At this stage, might have been relevant on the day. But looking at it, I'd say it was staged, because I can't see a possibility that Adam Lanza could have carried all that ammo in there and done all that, released all those rounds in that tight area without. I mean, how would you shoot 100 rounds in an area that small without earmuffs and stuff? I mean, you'd be so dizzy and disoriented, you wouldn't possibly be able to do that.
Well, you know what?
Super soldier, you know?
Oh, well, you know what? April and I called her the day that happened. We were just talking because April's son's autistic. I have an autistic cousin. I've worked with special ed kids, and first and foremost, they have really terrible motor skills. He wouldn't have been able to even drive the car, let alone shoot a gun, if you practice every day. Their muscle tone is so low, they're like hyperextended and flexible, so he wouldn't have been able to even handle a gun, let alone be a good shot, let alone drive a car. You know, but excusing people's ignorance because they don't know about that, you know.
I know. So, I mean, for people saying whether it was actors or whether it isn't, okay, look, we know it was staged. It was obviously staged. That's irrelevant. The relevant thing is, how has it been played? And that's what people need to look at. And you've got to really step back and look at the bigger picture, because these people plan moves and moves ahead. They plan years in advance of what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and really when you look at the whole the way Waco was played, and then Oklahoma City, and then all of the shootings between now and then 9/11, and then leading up to this. I mean, you can see how it's all been played.
Yeah.
You know, this is all part of the one scenario. And people need to step back at that and stop arguing about the details, look at how it's being played, and start focusing on how to address this problem.
Right, you know? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and some people just, they want to know what happened in order for them to believe the rest of it. I don't really understand that as well, because as we see with these coups d'etats, it really, no matter how they do it or how they plan it or plot it, the result is always the same. It's always the increased police state. It's always the, taking away the rights and all those, and then the divide and conquer, because they don't have to really attack us if they can get us to attack ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so.
Well, it is focusing on the details, and people want someone to point the finger at. They really, really want someone to point the finger at so they can be angry with someone. I'm angry about this event, but I need to be angry with someone. I need someone to direct that anger at. So they go down all these rabbit holes, and all these rabbit holes, I mean, you can read conspiracy into anything, really, if you look hard enough. You can go down all different rabbit holes. So that's why people come up with all these different ideas, and they start infighting amongst each other on all the details, instead of looking at the major event and how it's being played. Okay, we've already established that it was a setup because of Adam Lanza. He was autistic. He couldn't have done this. That's the only detail we need to know.
Yeah.
All the rest of it is a distraction. We know it was a setup. Okay, that means it was done by forces other than Adam Lanza, which would suggest the government was involved. Right. So how are they playing it? Where's it going?
Why would they do that?
It's going towards gun confiscation. How are they doing it? Okay, they're vilifying the truth movement to do it. Okay, well, they're trying to secure the opposition. They're trying to turn the rest of the community against those people they perceive to be opposition. So they're trying to create a wedge in the community with this attack against the Second Amendment in order to provoke conflict, because that's the only real way they'll get the guns. They'll only really get the guns if they just have to declare martial law just for a little while, not for long, folks, just for a little while, just because of all these mad truthers out there. We just have to have a little bit of martial law. And a lot of the population will go along with it because they will perceive truthers as being crazy. Because that's the way they're being portrayed, because, look, they're attacking all these nice people. So you've got to look at how it's all being played, and that's the important issue. All the details. I mean, once we've addressed this system and we've reined this government in and we've put some honest trustees in place to manage our society for us, all of these, how they did it and who done it, will all become apparent, because we can simply make all the records available, or even just forget about it, let it go away. It doesn't matter what anybody did. It matters what we do from this point forward. Because some of this stuff, I mean, you go down these rabbit holes, we're still trying to figure out who actually killed Kennedy.
Right, exactly. We'll never know.
You're not going to know, and it doesn't help now. It doesn't help what we do tomorrow and what we do today. These things are irrelevant. It doesn't matter what they did. It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter what anybody did. It matters what we do. Right. I believe it's all by changing our heart space, and I've gone through it so many times on the show, trying to get people to understand their own perfection and their own validity so they can see that in others and live their life in lak'ech, and we do that and the system changes. It's really that simple, because once we're empowered, we realize these people are just public trustees. The whole government only exists on paper. It's all fiction. We made the whole thing up. You can simply take the world in a different direction. But we can't do that while we're divided and fighting over the details,
Definitely. So, that's they want to keep it that way.
Oh, absolutely. And they set it up that way. And Sandy Hook's a perfect example. There's so much there to debate about. I mean, they set it up. This is so obviously, like with the owl and everything they've done to try to bait this truth community. People have taken it hook, line, and sinker,
Yeah.
Because because there's just questions everywhere, and this, I mean, just that Gene Rosen tape and the coroner looking like he was insane. I mean, just the whole thing.
Oh my God, the coroner was like,
it's just like,
everything.
And his last name was like Carver or something.
It's just
what a great name for a person who cuts up bodies or respects them.
The video footage of the guy being run down in the forest, I mean, they caught the guy in the forest. So much. There is so much. There's no footage of the children. There's that one still shot of about 15 kids being walked out across the yard. What happened to the other 560 or 590? So I mean, there's so much. Why weren't, look at the aerial shots, ambulances, no ambulances. None of it makes any sense at all. So it's been set up to look like a conspiracy, whether it was or not. Even the fact that Adam Lanza's death certificate appeared to be dated the day before.
Right,
it was dated December 13th. There's so many things there that are put there to bait the truth community and to create infighting. And then there's sites that have been set up to make it look like the whole truth community is crazy. Yeah. Which you would set up. I mean, sites like Wellaware One that's been set up to say the whole world's actors all from one family. And that Henry Winkler's playing the part of Ahmadinejad. And
what?
The Fonzie is actually the Iranian Prime Minister, right? And I'm some guy from America who flies out here to be a Green Party guy who wears a prosthetic face to be me. So you look at all of this sort of stuff. So if you're a person who's looking into this from the mainstream, you think, who are these truthers? What are they saying? What are they doing? And you find sites like this, you're going to go, these people are insane. These people are completely crazy. And not only that, but they're going out and training their autistic kids to shoot children through their crazy mindset and the stuff that they're teaching in their homeschooling. Their kids are going out and killing people, These are a real danger, these people. And look what they believe. They believe all this crazy stuff. So all these sites have been set up well in advance of this event. And this event's been really, really well played, I think. And I mean, we've got to see what's going on here. But the news of impeachment is really good. If people are doing that, then that's the way forward. I really think it is, and everybody has to do it.
But you know what too? Like I've heard you talk in your videos, and you talk about like approaching council members and politicians to make sure that like our voice is heard. And I just brought up the thing that people are drafting papers to be to impeach or President Obama. But I mean, really, do you think? And I'm not like attacking you or anything, but I'm just saying, do you think that really is going to have an impact if the system is already corrupted? Do you think that we would probably have to take another approach?
We'll have to take another approach, absolutely, but you've got to nip this in the bud. You can't let the place erupt into martial law or civil war. So you've got to start some process to slow that down, which would be an impeachment process. Simply because you can't just do this. I mean, like I said, we are so disconnected from what we are, and even if we were to bring this system crashing down, we're just going to put up another one that's the same until we get reconnected to who it's supposed to be. So we're a long way from that.
Right.
But we have to understand that we don't have to go along with their rules, and I'm not a gun person either. I don't own a gun. I'm not into guns. But the fact that America is a gun culture and the government wants to take the guns away from the people, but the government wants to keep their own guns, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because that means they want to take government to defend yourself away from them. Say, okay, we'll give up our guns, but you've got to give up your guns as well.
Right.
If we can't have guns, you can't have guns.
Yeah. Well, if you want to take the guns away from the people but allow them in the hands of the government, you're actually not against guns. You're actually for guns. You're in favor of them. You just don't want them in the hands of, the citizens. You just want them in the hands of somebody else, of an authoritarian figure. So that's illogical to me.
I'm in favor of guns as long as I'm the only person who's got one.
Yeah, totally.
That's what it's like.
That's tyranny, basically.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
That's what the government's saying. So that's a problem, But, I mean, like I said, if we can stand up against this, if the American people can at least gain the power that they have by impeaching this government and standing up against this, maybe it will empower the American people a little bit to want to stand up and start taking things on a local level and start changing things. But how do we get these people to even feel empowered enough to walk away from their TV sets, That's the thing. Maybe this is the issue that can do it. There's got to be something that's going to spark that spirit of America in people again, And I don't know what it will be, but we have to rein our governments in. We have to realize they're just public trustees. They're supposed to do what we want. They're supposed to act in the benefit of humankind. And if they can't do it, we should have the right to replace them with people who will, because we don't vote them in there to impose a tyranny over us. And this may be the spark that gets the American people to realize that. It's got to be a gradual process because our society has been brutalized and human consciousness has been brutalized, but there's got to be something that's going to ignite that spark. maybe this is it. If it's approached in the right way, maybe this will ignite that spark in the American people.
So the way that you approach your message is so different than a lot of other, I guess, truthers out there. And some of them are more fear-based in their approach, and they use a lot of things that fear to motivate, fear of the police state, fear of, FEMA camps and marching orders and so on and so forth. And so what do you think of that? I mean, I know that's not your approach, but do you think that there's a place for that and that does actually help to motivate people sometimes and wake them up?
Well, it can, but, you've got to motivate them into powerful action, I believe. If you're going to motivate people, you're going to show people what a problem is, you've got to show them an empowering way to address the problem. Right. There's no good pointing out a problem to someone if you don't at least have a suggestion for the solution, or at least a method of creating dialogue to find one. Right. Otherwise you're just part of the problem. You're just putting people in fear. And you don't want people to think, FEMA camps, Homeland Security, going out and buying guns and ammo and barricading them into their houses and waiting for a shootout. Right. That's not the way to fix the problem. Sure, we've got a problem. We've got some real issues with the FEMA camps and with what Homeland Security is doing and what the government's doing. These are real problems, and they're very, very serious issues. But they still can be addressed by an empowered community. And people will only feel empowered enough to really address these problems if they're empowered within themselves. They know who and what they are, and they understand that what they're dealing with is legal fiction. We're actually just human beings. We're just mankind on this planet. God created man, and everything below that is man-made fiction. All of it. We are man. We are mankind. We were given dominion over the earth by the Creator, whatever we perceive the Creator to be. We created all of this stuff below us. And when we can stand in that, we can change things. So that's my message, is that we can change all of this, but we've got to change ourselves. We've got to approach it on a grassroots level. There's no good going down through legal parameters that have been constructed by the system, because these parameters are designed to tie you up in red tape and allow the system to run rampant. We've got to realise that all of these systems were created by people that we entrust to positions of power in order to manage our infrastructure for us. This is breach of trust. So that's my approach to the whole thing. And I think once people change their way of looking at it and change their paradigm, then that's how we deal with it, peacefully. We could deal with a whole lot peacefully. Not a shot needs to be fired if people would simply change their perspective. And it comes down to the inner work, because you've got to find your own perfection so that you find that in others, because until you respect yourself, you won't respect others. And when you do respect yourself, you can't help but respect others. So that's the way it works, So that's been my message for the whole time, because, it isn't just a political shift we need. It isn't just a revolution. We need a complete revolution in consciousness, an evolution in consciousness. We need to change the way we think about things and approach things, and realise the beauty and the divinity of ourselves is the first step. And so that's been my message for the whole time. I mean, sure, all these other issues, we need to be aware of them, but we need to be aware that there's also a solution to them. I mean, but ultimately, hey, all I can offer is my perspective. I mean, this is what I believe. Right. I've found this works for me in my life. When I approach reality this way and I approach people this way, my life just works. And so all I'm really doing with the shows is offering something, I'm humbly offering for your suggestion and your approval, should you wish to think about things in this way. I'm just hoping that I can help people change the way they're so down on themselves, and the way they're always looking for solutions in that which is external to themselves, when all the solutions really do lie within. As long as you combine the two, once you find it within, you've got to apply it to the external world. And, to me, that's the way it works, and so that's what I've tried to do.
I was going to say, because the system is really the problem, and a big part of it is the ecclesiastic system that was put in place by Pope Boniface VIII in the Vatican in 1302. Do you think you could explain a little bit about that and what you think people should do with that information?
Well, people need to understand that it's a corporate system that we're facing. The whole thing is a corporation. What Pope Boniface did in 1302 is he basically claimed control of the earth, and they put together a series of trusts which basically claim control of all property or private property and of people's souls. And they've done this through birth certificates and all sorts of stuff. But really, it's in place because no one ever challenges it. And the system itself is absolutely, it's all a corporate system. And the way this system has been done, I mean, it's all fiction. It's all just legal fiction. That's what I've been trying to explain to people with the whole thing, is that it's all corporate fiction. The Australian government is a corporation. We don't have to actually do what it says because we're not contracted to it. But it's a system that was put in place to basically enslave people to commerce. Essentially, that's the easiest way to put it. But the beauty of it is that it's ecclesiastic. It's based in the Bible. Every Western legal system has its roots in the Bible. And so we can use that. Even if you don't particularly believe in the Bible yourself, you can still use that, because it says on page 2 of the Bible that God created man and gave man dominion over the earth. That's us. That's mankind. That's all of us. And it also says in the Bible that man-made law is an abomination and one should only follow the law of God. And it also says that thou shalt not serve two masters. So therefore, I can't really serve their legal system. If they're claiming that I have to follow one of their laws, which is an abomination against God and is in breach of one of God's laws, then they're claiming they're a higher authority than God, and I need proof of claim. Because their legal system is apparently based on the laws of God. So if they're claiming they're a higher authority than God, then how the hell do they have a legal system? Because they based it on the big guy's word. Now they're saying their word's better, so what's going on here? It doesn't make sense. They null themselves out. They cancel themselves out with their own legal system simply because it's ecclesiastic. But ultimately, I mean, what I try to do with the shows is I try to suggest to people that you can step above the whole thing. Because even though they're claiming you're part of this trust, you can simply say you're not. You've just got to go down the right avenues and answer the right questions or ask the right questions, and you can soon establish your freedom, because I'm not contracted to any of these people that I know of. And if they're claiming that I am through my birth certificate or any forms I've filled out, well, there wasn't full disclosure because they never even told me they were a corporation to begin with. So there's ways through it with their own legal system. But ultimately, I would suggest that a government that we hire, we elect these people into a position of trust. I would suggest that them even inflicting such a legal system upon us without telling us the basis of the legal system is a breach of trust. So let's address that first. Let's address where you get the power to inflict your legislation upon me. You only get that power through the power that I give you because I placed you in a position of trust. So I suggest that you're in breach of trust. And I think that's the way the people should approach it. I think from all countries that's the way it should be approached. Because if you try to do it from the parameters of their legal system, they've created it that way that it's so convoluted, it's going to tie you up in red tape forever and ever and ever and ever. And you're going to be addressing all these little certain sections of it when ultimately it all goes back to Pope Boniface in the Vatican. So you're only addressing these little tiny bits of it through magistrates' courts and local courts and district courts and your own president of your country or whatever. I mean, it's all one system. The whole thing's one system. It all comes from these trusts created by Rome way, way back. And one of the most important things, like I was mentioning earlier, was when the Unum Sanctum Trust was created and the Crown Corporation was created by the Vatican, one of its prime mandates was to go out and exterminate shaman all around the world, go out and wipe out shamanistic tradition, paganism, pantheism, anything that had the old knowledge of the plants. They went to the most extraordinary effort, more than anything else, to wipe this off the planet, because this is the way back. Because even if we bring down this system, it's important that we don't just put another one in place. It's important that we reconnect with the earth, and we need to find a method of doing that. And that's why I suggest that we do it in steps. We introduce the step of first, okay, we rein the government in, we introduce an honest money supply to get everybody out of fear-based mind control and out of debt slavery and out of a state of manufactured scarcity. Step number 2, we get all the toxins out of the environment, all the fluoride out of the water, all the GM food, all the additives out of the food, so that we clean ourselves up biologically. And then over a period of the next maybe 50 or 60 years, people will start being born more active and more aware with the pineal more open. We've got to get back to that before we can even begin to start healing things. So we've got a long way to go. And what we've got to do is try to find a way of peacefully reining this system in and changing the direction the ship of state is sailing in, so that it sails in a direction that leads us back to where we should be. And over a period of time, once we've got rid of all these toxins out of the environment, we've got rid of all the pollution and all the debt slavery and all the stuff that we're subject to now, I believe that over a period of a couple of generations, we will see that government is irrelevant. We don't need government. All we need is for people to administrate our infrastructure, and the more reconnected we get with Earth again, the more organic this infrastructure will become, and we could move more into something like a technologically advanced Vedic type culture, where everything was communal and giving and the whole Earth was a garden. I mean, we have the potential to do all sorts of wonderful things. We have so much potential. We really do. But we're kept so disconnected from who we are, and we have to find a way back to it. And all I can really do is offer suggestions on ways that we might be able to do that. But I don't think violent confrontation or bringing a government down and putting up a new government is going to solve anything. We have to realise the power that we have to control our trustees and ensure that they administrate our infrastructure in a way that benefits mankind. That's the approach we have to have, I believe.
I know, Max, that you tell us about the meditations that you do for mass global healing. Do you still do those? I know you did at one point. Yeah,
on Sunday mornings, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's 10 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, but it's Sunday morning for me here. So it's 10 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, Saturday nights. Just the global intention. Like what I was talking about before, about when you put yourself in that energetic state where the healing's already here. Mm-hmm. It's just something that I do every Sunday morning or every 10 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. I figured if I scheduled it there with a clock and a countdown, we can get enough people doing it at the same time around the world. Maybe it'll make a difference. I mean, it can't hurt,
Yeah, it definitely can't hurt. I believe in that, though. I believe in intention and setting your energy, and that it does or it can make a difference. So.
Well, even the fact that I called in the radio show the way I told you before, I mean, it shows that it works. And the way in Native American we'll do a rain dance, and it does rain. I mean, it shows you that it works. So, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So my question was about your documentary on transformation, and I was wondering if you could explain the transhumanism and how they're implementing destruction on our DNA.
Well, what they're doing through the chemtrails, there seems to be nanoparticulates in the chemtrails. When you look at GM food, you look at all the whole grid that's been put in place, and even the way fluoride affects the body, there seems to be an agenda to genetically modify all life on the planet and merge it with machine, because that way it can be controlled. Controlling biology. Everything we do, a lot of our science, it seems that we're trying to create artificial life. But why would we be wanting to create artificial life when we can already create life ourselves through procreation? Human beings can create life. A human female, the goddess energy, this can create life. A woman can create life. It's the most amazing thing. And we can do this naturally through a natural bond. Why do we always seek to create artificial life? And we haven't been able to do it in everything that we've tried. So now there's an agenda to merge natural life with artificial life. It's a need to become God. It's a need by paranoid people to become God because they are scared of death. When you look at things such as the film I featured in Transformation, I featured heavily sections of Transcendent Man by Ray Kurzweil. They tell you this is what they want to do. Ray Kurzweil has a profound fear of death, and he wishes to merge his consciousness with machine so he can live forever. And the plan basically is to merge us with machine and nanotechnology so they can send nanotechnology infused with artificial intelligence out into space to harness the rest of the universe so it will improve our intelligence. What this is the creation of a Borg race. That's what they want to do. They want to merge us with nanotechnology and then go out and assimilate the universe to become God. And that's the mindset of these people. And this is the core foundation of a psychopathic mind. I mean, a psychopath wants to control all and sees everything that he doesn't control as a threat to himself. That's the way psychopathic minds works. And that's what this is. This whole transhumanist agenda and this whole need to control people, genetically. Do it from the inside out. Merge us with machines, but do it from the inside out so that they control the technology, and the technology, so you are easily controllable.
Yeah.
That's where they're going, and that's where they're merging, and they're selling it to the people as improvements. But, what I experienced in Peru was this incredible connection with higher senses online and this amazing technology, this inner technology that we all possess, but through the GM food, through all the toxins, through the electromagnetic soup and the dumbing down and left brain education, the flickering lights, all the stuff they give us, we've been disconnected from this. And so now they're offering us this deep, cheap, digital, clunky version that they can control. And it will appear to be quite something that people will want, because they're going to say, yeah, I'd like this technology. I'd like to have this instant communication. I'd like to be able to do all these things. So people will ask for this technology. They'll ask for their own enslavement because they don't know that they can already do these things internally if we were to simply clean up our environment.
Very
so
true.
It's basically creating this unity that we already have with everything, but making it a machine version of it. You know what I'm saying? That is controllable from an external source rather than being what we actually should be. So we're being, and that's why it all seems so attractive to people as well, because it's so natural for us to want this, because we can do it already if we were left to our own devices.
Right, with our own intervention. And so what is the plan then with all the GMOs and the fluoride and everything? Like you're saying they want to merge it with machine, but is that to sort of, is it like going back to the Nazi eugenics kind of thing where they're trying to find out who is going to survive once they practice?
Well, there's a huge experiment taking place to see who does what and how it all reacts. I mean, they probably don't really know that much about what they're doing. I mean, depends, the people, the GM foods that they're consuming, the electromagnetic frequencies that they're being subject to, the types of vaccines that they've had. These all set up different genetic environments. So there's this huge experiment going on to see who's going to survive and what we will end up with. But, it's going to be some type of machine race, but what's it going to be? I mean, they can't really know for sure because there's such a diversity of biology on this planet. I mean, people's individual biology is different levels of all sorts of things. Nobody's the same. I mean, everybody's unique.
Right.
So it's a grand experiment to see what is going to happen, but it is a merging of man with machine through nanotechnology. And they're even telling you now, they've done experiments where they've put injected nanotechnology into rats, and then they've exposed them to an electromagnetic frequency, and the nanotechnology has been programmed to switch the genes of the rat on and off. So they can switch your genes with nanotechnology with an electromagnetic signal. So, so they're putting nanotechnology in the chemtrails, and it's being ingested by everybody, and they're putting in these smart meter grids. They want to put a chip in you. Well, there's your CPU. So there's you can see how they're putting it all together, and you're an electromagnetic being. Right. Everything you experience is electromagnetic. All the thoughts and signals and touch and taste and smell, these are all electromagnetic signals. So of course you can be controlled electromagnetically. And that's why they're putting this grid together. And once they've got the nanoparticulates infused with everything, then they should be able to send different signals to these nanoparticulates in order to program them to perform different tasks. I mean, they're showing you they can do this in mainstream science. They're telling you this is what they want to do in films such as Transcendent Man. So all I suggested with Transformation is that we examine our own environment to see if they're actually already in the process of doing this. And lo and behold, all the signs that they exist right now in our environment. And there again lies the opportunity for us to deal with this problem. But we have to pay attention in order to do it, because these guys are proactive. They're doing this. And we need to stop it, but we have to be aware of it in order to stop it. But again, you can't just make someone aware of it and put them in fear. You've got to start providing solutions to these problems, or else people are just going to curl up in the corner and wait to die. And we don't want that. So.
Yeah. Very great. Well, I guess we're just about out of time, Max, but it was really, really a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much.
Look, it was an absolute pleasure to come on and talk to you all.
Yeah. Yes, thank you so much. It was, and I learned a lot here, so a lot. We really appreciate it. We're big fans. And once again, tell us what your website is and where our listeners can go find out more about what you're doing.
They can go to my website, which is thecrowhouse.com. You'll find a link to a Facebook group there. There's a couple of Facebook pages I have there because I ran out of friends on one, so I've got two now, and a couple of groups. I've got a YouTube channel, AOD Scarecrow. You'll find links to it all from my website, thecrowhouse.com. I've got 6 films there available, all for free. I've got hundreds of radio shows that I've done over the last 5 years of all of this type of information. And it's all free. It's all for you. Please share and let's change the world.
All right. We will. Yeah, nothing better than that. So we're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we'll close up the show. But thanks, Max. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.